to welcome you to Voice of the Priest Against Corruption. This podcast, it's a program of Palace of Priest Assembly, PPA, mobilizing Christians against corruption in Nigeria with strong support from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. My name is Oche Ocheme, and I'm privileged to be your host on this wonderful radio program. It's an interesting time we're living in. While on my way to the studio, I heard a sad news of one of the leading voice in the broadcasting industry in Nigeria, one of the sister radio station, Deborah Ohamara, who passed on as a result of accidents. My prayers and condolences are with the family, and of course from all the team, the vote pack is with the family. Today I'll be talking, looking at a very interesting topic. I had a call from one of the listeners who asked me a question, and her concern was, okay, so like every other project, it has a lifespan. So the question was, what is the guarantee or what is the sustainability plan for the Shun Corruption, the Mobilization Against Corruption project in Nigeria? What is the sustainability plans? While at some point, probably in another episode, I'll be calling one of the team members of the PPJ to come and further elucidate on this. But from what I understand, that the Shun Corruption project was built on a sustainability model, and there are clear signs that that shows that it will continue to yield results even after the donor, the funding is terminated. And sustainability factors include a whole lot. For instance, there is an existence of training manuals. So far, some manuals have been developed, and long after the termination of the project, these manuals will continue to serve as useful resources for Pentecostals in Nigeria and the Church Universal. These manuals are available and accessible. For instance, I know there is the manual on Christianity and corruption, which is the first one. You also have manual identifying and tracking tackling the drivers of corruption within and outside the church. I also know that there is manual on building accountability spaces, and also there is a manual on income generation for Pentecostal ministers. So you see, even after the funding has stopped, these manuals are already in existence, and they're already doing so much, helping a lot of people. And don't forget that there's also a critical mass of core trainers built across the country. One of the model that they'll be using is the training of trainers model, and this has been able to build critical mass of trainers across the country. These trainers, of course, continue to serve as resource person to step down the training. Some have also been invited by churches to help train the congregation. So you can see that there are sustainability plans. There are also human, institutional, and capacity built to drive the fight against corruption. There's also a useful existing church structure at a rallying point, and then of course the biblical basis for transparency and accountability has been established. Then there is a consolidation of existing partnership, which is the phase we are now, and formation of new ones. So you see, for those who are worried about if this fight against the corruption being championed by the PPA and PPJ will stand the test of time long after the funding, the current funding phase has come to an end. All of these are structures and systems that have been put in place. Of course, the project prioritize promoting zero tolerance to corruption, as well as integrated into the priorities of the church, supported and promoted by the Holy Bible. Like, we've been able to extrapolate about 115 verses of the scriptures that speaks through or against corruption. So if your concern is to say, okay, this is another flash in the pan, no, it is not. And this is for you know that for anything to stand the test of time, you need to institutionalize it. And the PPJ team has carefully taken this into cognizance by building human and institutional capacity that are built to drive the fight against corruption. Of course, our core trainers are influential Pentecostals with large congregation and executives. For instance, most of the people we have trained are leaders, founders, general overseers, pastors, leaders in all capacity, various capacity of the Pentecostal community. And prior to this time, you don't see ministers mainstreaming the messages of anti-corruption from the pulpit, but carefully they have been trained, and they've gone to accept this and begin to weave the message of anti-corruption, mainstreaming it in their messages. And we can see that this is building and transforming and affecting positive changes. A lot of things has gone into place. Don't also forget that a lot of churches are beginning to call on the team to come help them set up the social arms of the church. Don't forget, this is one other thing we champion the whole lot, that the PPJ team champion the whole lot, the social arms of the church. Ladies and gentlemen, all I've been talking about could look very bogus and ambiguous. Okay, let's break it down to how it affects you and I. As I've often advocated and posit, corruption is not carried or perpetuated by aliens. Those who tolerate, those who consent, those who keep silent are not aliens. They are people like you and I, people we interact with on a daily basis. So the question is, now that you know, what are you doing about it? I told us during the last episode that there are definition of sins and iniquity. I gave a definition of sin, that sin is knowing the right thing according to James chapter 4 verse 17 to do, and you refuse to do it. Iniquity is a willful disobedience to the will of God. And so the Bible says in the days of ignorance, God say, I will overlook. But now that you know. And you know, one way that I also see that we can address the challenges of corruption is knowledge, which is one of the things we are doing. A lot of people do things and they don't even know that what they are doing is wrong. But you that know what you're doing is wrong, should you continue doing it? Paul asked the question. He said, yes, we know that grace abounds, but should we continue in sin that grace may abound? And he said, God forbid bad thing. Now that we know, now that you know, now that I know, now that you are aware. I mean, we are there in your faces, in the churches, on the radio, on the social media, talking about this, advocating, championing the cause, the fight against corruption. You're hearing of this. What is still your excuse? You know, I once worked in an organization that the then country director gave an illustration, an analogy. And she said someone took, I think, a stapler, a pack of staple pins home. And then when he was confronted, he said, oh, it's just an insignificant one pack of a staple pin. And I mean, what difference will it make from 100 pack of staple pins? And she said, no, that is a wrong way to look at it. Yes, what you took is one. Imagine we have 20 staff and each person decides to take one pack of staple pin home. That is 20. Probably they decide to take each one per day or each one per week. At the end of the day, we will not have enough staple pin to go around, and the money that was budgeted for other things, we will have to find a way. Whereas the staple pin was actually programmed or prepared or purchased to last for a certain period of time, but because one person or some group of people decided to do this, it will affect the other budgets, and then there will be need, because the staple pin is a necessity in the office. On the other hand, you can look at it and say, okay, I will not do it, not because I will be caught. I will not do it because I know the truth, because I know it is wrong, because I know the Bible speaks against it, because I know my conscience speaks against this. I will not do it. This is it. While we are looking at the bigger picture of those who are embezzling millions and billions of funds in the government parastatals and ministries, we can also begin to look at ourselves. You know, I am sure most of us are aware of the stories I was told of a mother that I think it started from the school, end of the year, and they needed to do class photograph, what we call the group picture. And then the photographer came, told them, okay, for each child, for me to print the picture and so on, each child will need to pay a fee of 100 naira. And then the principal went to the class teacher, okay, each child is to pay 200 naira per picture. And then the class teacher went down and told the children, go home, tell your parents, each child is to pay 300 naira per picture. And the children went and told their mother, their parents, okay, mother, for instance, and say, we are to bring 300 naira for group pictures in the school. And the mother reporting to the father say, oh, the children are asked to pay 500 naira per picture. You could see that corruption has a ripple effect. It trickles down. If one person starts it, you never can tell where it will go. Have you not noticed when you're in the traffic and somebody beats the traffic, disobey the traffic, and then the tendency is for you to follow suit? Now, that person may escape. What I often tell people is, as you are jumping the traffic, probably you are in a rush, rushing to nowhere in most cases anyway. And peradventure, anything happen, like you run into another vehicle, all of the rush will automatically come to an end. All of the rush you just have to stay there. So I think the highest the traffic could probably is maybe 120 seconds, which is like 2 minutes at most, or 90 seconds or 60 seconds, depending on this. So a little patience could make the whole difference. So by setting the wrong pace, you leading and you're setting the wrong pace for others to follow suit. I've seen a situation where somebody jumped the traffic light and he was let go. I mean, the traffic controller couldn't do anything, and then the next person that tried to beat it was apprehended, and he said, oh, why didn't you apprehend the person in front of me? Why coming for me? Unfortunately, that person may have gone. You are the one who was caught. And so whatever the case is, my counsel to you today, as I round off this episode of The Voice of the Priest Against Corruption, is 1, see yourself as accountable to God. 2, just make up your mind to say, I will not be engaged in this act of corruption. I will speak against it, I will stand against it, and I will shun it. And if I take the decision as an individual, and my neighbor take the decision, and we all take the decision collectively, we'll be able to address the challenges of corruption. It might not be overnight, but trust me, we're making progress. And for those who are concerned about the sustainability, I've read out the sustainability plans and more to you. And that has been the wrap for today's episode of Voice of the Priest Against Corruption. This is to say thank you for all of our viewers, and of course to the team, the producers, and all of my team, all of the PPJ team and PPA. This is a big thank you. And until I come your way next week, my name remains Oche Ocheme, saying that little decision you make to stand out, speak out, and shun corruption could be the difference. God bless you. See you next week.